Okay, welcome everybody to the main event number 122. We're talking about the dark side of AI, part two, continuing on from last week. We've been discussing Geoffrey Hinton's comments about AI. He is considered one of the godparents of AI, and he's been putting forth a lot of concerns about things that could happen. Also been advancing how do you address those things? How do you deal with it so that it doesn't cause irreparable harm? So we're going to talk about the second part of what he was talking about. What happens if AI decides it doesn't need humans? And then we'll also eventually get into talking about mass joblessness and widening wealth inequality. I don't have any real AI news this week, Sandu. I don't know about you, but I do have some good news about the main event. Next week, on July 25th, Bloom Bauer will be joining us and presenting her work and getting us more acquainted with her. On August 1st, Ikena Mokivi, I guess, he's from London, and he does some phenomenally funny AI videos. And then August 15th, and this is news for you, Sandu, Deepika Grover from India is going to join us. And she's all excited about that, is putting together a nice presentation for us. We've got August 8th open. I'm hoping that we can get Brent Hidman for that slot, but if not, we have a couple more days in August that we could have him be with us. Just keep in the back of your mind, Sandu, that the 8th of August is open.
Yeah, we can fill it up. Actually, on 8th, I'll be probably in Canada. It's typically in August I'm going to Canada. But regarding AI, I posted in the other event, but in China, they start doing AI mandatory in the schools, which is interesting. So basically, all kids, 6-year-old and higher, they will learn AI, or they will be directly interacting with AI, which is at least an interesting choice, educationally speaking, on that side of the world. Here in US, we know, not really related to the AI, but we have all those crypto government policies pass it, but that will trigger also some AI stuff as well. We know investment wise in US, at least $500 billion was released. Some mega projects, most of them they go actually in Middle East, in Saudi Arabia, and will be interesting. Big lobbies, the high level OpenAI, Meta, Google, even X with Elon. So that's interesting development, at least with AI. But what I was intending to say today is Friday, and it's also Friday robots. So if you like robots, post it in, just to have some fun as well. But it's serious thing. The topic is actually very serious. That was. Touch in science fiction, we have the whole spectrum, AI being very good and rise humanity, Star Trek, live long and prosper, but you have also the opposite side when Skynet is taking over and we have different kind of challenges. So the discussion is kind of between how we see that. On my side, I'm actually an optimistic person, but those are facts. Definitely, we need to discuss it. As Al mentioned, there are some facets of AI which several people they try to take advantage. I'm not saying they are mean or intended, but it's like a weapon. We need to pay attention how we use it, and the things which change in comparison with all the other weapons like atomic weapons, energy weapons, and so on, fire, whatever the humanity discovered before and become a big turning point in humanity. This time, actually, we have an entity which thinks by itself. If the AGI, the artificial general intelligence, will be achieved, again, my personal thinking, on that side is not is happening, but the element of fear is obviously used by different entities in their advantage. So let's have a discussion about that, because I think it's at least good to expose the dark.
Well, I want to welcome Maria and Isa, and I'm delighted to see iPhone 9 here. And
Wait.
and of course our good friend Chris.
Yeah.
And Chris, before you have to go do something for your kid, I would love to hear what your thoughts are and concerns about AI becoming super intelligent, and what kinds of things are you hearing, or what are you thinking about, Chris?
You know me so well, Big Al. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. It's a bit of a heavy subject on a late Friday afternoon, to be honest. Like you said, I am about to go and pick up Hugo from nursery, and I'm pretty much coming to the end of my working day. But yeah, I'm sort of with Sandu in that I don't know if we're as close as a lot of people sort of portray that we are to AGI, or that the acceleration to get there will be. Certainly, I don't think in the current LLMs as they are, they have the capability. There need to be a lot more breakthroughs in terms of the Transformer paper that Demis Hassabis wrote that got us to where we are is not enough. There's going to have to be a lot more to get us to like AGI levels, as far as I see it. But yeah, the weaponization of all of that, even the fear mongering, as Sandu said, about whether we're not and who's saying that, that's certainly scary and can be used against us, whether or not we are close to AGI. So even the words themselves carry enough weight that we should take it seriously. But it is a hard one to think about when we just want to have fun and do creative things with AI, is that others will be using it for nefarious reasons and trying to build super intelligence for bad. So that's my thoughts on it. We'll see.
Well, Gregory Hinton talks about, establishing regulations and having government laws about what you can do, what you can't do. My question is, if we haven't been able to get governments to do anything about climate change of any degree, what are we going to be doing about AI? I mean, the thing that if we do get to the point where we as a global community can agree on certain things in terms of how we deal with AI and super intelligence, that doesn't mean that the military in any of these countries, including the United States, aren't going to go and do whatever they want to do and create stuff that could wreak havoc. It's one thing to talk about, cyber warfare and having, shutting down systems and everything, but it's another one to have killing devices. It is scary.
Okay, it's Birgitta here. I don't know. iPhone 9, it's me, and I don't know how to change things. And I just want to say, it's me, and I will be off camera too, I think. But I totally agree with you, what you said now, Big Al. And I think that's a really important, and some things you have to take in your own hands. And maybe that's the creators of an AI. I think we can do a lot. So I'm happy to be here and listen to you guys.
Well, always fun to be with you, my friend. I think that the concern I have is if we have not been able to come up with agreements about climate change, and we're already feeling the effects of it, when are we going to do something about AI and the potential of what could happen there? Always fun to have Rachel visiting us at 2 a.m. her time.
Good morning.
Good morning. So
Good morning.
You're doing some great things with AI and with a great number of wonderful, wonderful, talented women, including yourself and your partner, Amanda. And I just was curious as to what your concerns are about the future of AI on the dark side.
Uh, Perhaps you need to give me another 5 minutes for my coffee to kick in. But
Okay. All right. Well,
that's a very big question, 5 minutes from waking up.
wake up, Rachel. Come on.
I did a lot of reading when AI first came about in 2022. When I first started delving into it, there was an incredible YouTube video. I'm sure everyone saw it at the beginning, where were dire messages everywhere, and from quite big, well educated names in the industry. I prefer to look at it from And I prefer to look at it from a point where I'm hoping it will change society instead of it taking over and dominating humans and saying that we're, the fleas, hurting the earth and it needs to wipe us off the planet. I hope it changes our lifestyles. So the everyday menial tasks that we do and take a lot of time, dollars for hours, are taken by the AI, and we connect in more with our families. We have work-life balance. It changes our culture. I feel like our culture has moved away from family, to be, I think about 20 years ago, this is my perspective as a mother, women's rights, we stood up and we said, we want same pay, we want same recognition as men, we want both, we want to be mothers and we want to be professionals as well. But that sort of hurt us in a way. It took a turn because then economy changed as well, and we needed two-parent incomes to just bring up our children. So our children then suffered. I think society has hurt families where now daycare is a part of everybody's life, and daycare has the children from the moment they wake up till their parents can come home from work. So it's sort of damaged the families in a way. And I'm hoping this AI helps us bring us back to family, to friends, to uniting even suburbs, knowing our neighbors, that feeling. That's my wish and hope for AI. Instead of it, we're saying, oh, it's going to steal our jobs and it's going to do this, this, and this. That's my take on everything.
Well, one thing you certainly have proven is that AI can bring us back to our friends in our neighborhood, but our neighborhood now is global. Such a
That's
fantastic.
very well said. That is so beautifully well said, because some of the best friends I have now are people I've never met
Yeah,
in real life. I have a heart-to-heart conversations and connections with people in this industry, and yet they're on the other side of the world.
yeah.
Actually, it's very interesting. You brought a good point. I remember even on LinkedIn, there were some articles where they show during time, like from 1950s, how people they are spending their time with. And at that time, it was predominantly with the family, and after that, the colleagues or the high school, and after that, the people at work. And in time, that got flipped. So in around 80s, 90s, it was kind of the same ratio between standing with the family, standing with the friends, mostly actually with the friends and colleagues. And after that, 90s and 2000s, online came. And obviously in 2020s right now, with like a ratio of 5 times it's online. And after that, maybe 1 time with the family and half time with colleagues and so on. So basically, the vast majority of friendship relationships are actually based on online activities. Now, put that in perspective with AI. We know AI is going to be implemented in schools. That already happens right now in certain parts of the world. And we know the younger generation will consider AI like a friend, or, like an entity which you can discuss and share stuff, like basically your virtual friend. And the question is how that will evolve. I do see that, again, as a positive, as long as nobody tinkle with that thing. The other thing, AI has got many forms. I mean, we talk the term as AI, but what AI? Even your phone, it's AI, right? You have it with you nonstop. It's how you want to say it is spy on you nonstop. If you want, you can take that side too, right? But in the same time, you use it, on computers, you create. It's a tool, makes you better, makes you more productive, expands your conscience as well, because you get more imaginations. Some people are using even as a drug, like in the sense that you get addicted to AI and you want to create nonstop because you feel like an artist. I have to do it now because I got the muse with me and I have to kick it out, like that's how you create it. But I think the discussion here is how you perceive it, and what you see it as a danger. I guess that would be the dark side, as we call it.
Yeah, every time you mention about kids being friends with their AI, I think about the fact that they don't have to have imaginary friends anymore.
Yeah, that's true as well, right?
Yeah. Maria, you had some definite ideas you were talking about yesterday on the weird ones, and you have some definite concerns. I'd be very happy to have you voice what your thoughts are.
Thank you. So I just want to go back to AGM and what Christopher was saying, and the concern, and as we see today how power can be misused, and the genocide in Gaza, and to know that US today is the leader, even though they are not so far ahead of China, and that they are developing such a precise weapons that really can calculate exactly everything and take down defense from others and so on. That can really makes me super worried. But on the other hand, I can also see today that there are more and more people that don't want to go to army. They are willing to take the jail time for not going to the army. And with all that development, with AGM, if we could turn it around and use it to be precise in where do we need food, where do we need to send it, how fast can it come there, and we can use it to something else. So I think when we push this resistance, even though it's small steps many times, as I said yesterday, if you don't buy that Coke, you feel like it's nothing happening, but something is happening. So even though you are not interested in the war in Gaza, or you have other things that you are concerned about your children and their upbringing and so on, the stance that you make and the choices that you make can do that. I can make your voice be heard more, and you can make the road shorter to do good and to inspire others. I have really used my pain. I have cried so much over the pictures. I'm starting to cry now. I can't talk about it. The children, and just be creative with AI and doing all this books and writing and doing something, you know, because I see so many, it's too much. I can't see the pictures. I can't be involved. I can't be involved in Alligator Gate in USA, in the brown people, how they are treated today and just being snapped out of the road. And I think that AI helps me to get involved and to do something, to be a part of the movement. And I just started an account for my grandson. He's just 6 months. So I just did an email account, and where I start to put in my thoughts and why I am fighting. His father is from Iran. So I just want him to know that even though I'm sitting in this small town and doing my stuff and just feeling so much pain for those who suffer in USA as well, in Palestine, and also the Israelis. They are really traumatized by going to this war all the time, every generation. You know, when you get a child there, that this child is going into IDF. You know that.
Maria,
So,
go ahead, finish.
yeah, so I just wanted to say that I think I really made me do much more than I ever had done before when it happened awful things during my lifetime. This is the first time I'm actually doing a lot of stuff.
Well, you
thanks
know,
to AI.
I think that in light of that, I think it would be very good if you could get better acquainted with Rachel and the She is AI movement that they're doing. You know, it really is a remarkable group of people, and they're doing fantastic stuff. Rachel, speaking of that and your promo, what about this conference you're having online? When is it? The 27th of July?
Your time, I think, might be the 26th.
Okay.
That was the 25th. Thank you, Maria, for speaking into your experience, by the way, because it was extremely touching. And yeah, this is where what we do speak into at She is AI is because women especially have no, I shouldn't. Let me reframe. Lived experience is something that has not been added to the code as yet, or not as eloquently or efficiently yet that needs to be. Beautiful people, beautiful times, beautiful, 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 happy, happy selfies for women, and even body shapes on with AI. For I'm speaking from the creative aspect, have been trained on porn to get the body ratios right. But there are deeper stories about mothers and children, especially in war-torn zones, grandparents and children, where there's a gap, a wide gap between even a child who can't speak yet and their grandmother living in a different country. So, and I had watched a very brief documentary between Israel and Iran. I'll only be very brief on this. And they were interviewing mothers in both areas. And instead of, rah, rah, rah against each other, the mothers were saying, I just feel so much compassion for the mothers in Israel. I feel so much compassion for the mothers in Gaza who are trying to protect their children during this time. These are the stories that need to be told. These are the stories that need to be recorded and known by AI. So it's not just history in writing, in facts, and this is the real history, is how people are living this experience. So with mental health, lived experience, yeah, if AI can actually understand the compassion of mothers and children, mothers or women in pain, anyone in pain who have triumphed through that pain, who have lived through that pain or confusion or war. Perhaps AI will be trained in a more compassionate way as well. So yes, she is. I'd love to connect with you. So if you'd like to find me on LinkedIn, Maria, send me a message, and love to have a chat and support you in any way I can as well.
I think of Harriet Moser and what
Yeah.
she's been doing with AI, and when she came on our event a couple of weeks ago, she just felt like she had gained so much self-confidence in being able to get up in front of a group that is, we're always supportive and we're always, really interested in people and what they're doing and appreciate their work. She just said that, her feeling was after being on with us that she now knows that she's going in the right direction and what she's doing. And, I think that, AI is giving an opportunity to people that is really having a chance to accomplish things they never thought they would be able to accomplish. I know myself and my work, I was always doing a lot of 3D illustration as well as retouching and Photoshop work, but I am doing very little 3D now, and most everything I'm doing is with AI and then using the Photoshop AI capabilities as well as the standard Photoshop capabilities. And it just has changed how I have been able to work. And it's all been very positive. I had an assignment for a academy recently, and they liked one of my 3D illustrations from a few years back. It was cartoon, kind of 3D model characters, teenagers, and they were the picture that I did with them is called Lost in the Woods. They liked that picture, and they wanted 3 illustrations for things related to the school in that style. Well, what I was able to do was to go to Permento and train the style and the characters into the program, and I was able to really duplicate the look of those characters, but with so much more going for them, so much more refinement to the characters, and so much more really expressive, than I was ever able to do with the 3D figures. Well, we're getting off a little bit of the track of the negative stuff here, but I'd love to hear from anybody else, Isa, Mark, Eric, or Glenn, any of your thoughts in terms of where we're going and what we can do about bad actors.
Hey, Alex, Glenn.
Yep.
Yeah, look, it's hard to disagree with anything everyone has just said. Maria, Rachel, yourself, and Chris and Sandu. I mean, I think every point of view is valid. I think from my point of view, I want to believe that everything is going to be all right and it'll be managed. I actually don't. I do think it's the most exciting time in our lives at this point, both creatively and just the day-to-day life. I think it's going to change. I think we're going to live to see massive changes, and I think it's exponentially going so fast in a good way. I mean, look at the simplicity of just AI video. It's changing every other week, it seems. So if you were to parallel that to the huge things, like AGI and other things, I just wonder if it's coming faster than we actually think it is, and that we might not be aware of it. Like behind the scenes, a lot of this stuff may be happening, just like we don't know when something drops. I wonder if that's an interesting parallel to everything that's happening at this on this topic. I do think it's going to change the world, especially with medicine. I love to believe that a lot of things are going to be solved, I mean, Big Al, I'm in pharmaceutical and marketing and all that. And I talk to a lot of the clients, and they're wildly hopeful that some of the things that they thought would take decades will be solved, in a relatively much shorter time. I mean,
Surgery also.
yeah. And talking to one of them, they were saying the amount of work that AI has been able to fast forward would have taken 30 years, they predicted, with the people that they had in place at the moment, working the way they've been working. And then all of a sudden AI showed up in the last few years, and it's just bounced everything to hyperspeed to solve molecular, and compounds of drugs and all that. So that part I find, wildly excited. You brought up, the environmental issues. I wish the world was smarter, about taking it more seriously. Even this country now seems to be going backward on that topic. That's my concern. If they can't even get that right, and that's not a complicated one to do, I mean, as a global community, I just wonder if all the good things that come out of AI, I think there's going to be an equal negative to it. Like silly metaphors. It's sort of like the Avenger movies. They have these wonderful superheroes that have their hearts in the right place, but then there's equally the bad actors that don't have, they have dark hearts, so to speak. I don't know how you can ever control that. I don't think any government's ever going to control AI, from what I can see.
So, Glenn, when I'm listening to you, I think that's super interesting that you're talking about the acceleration, about the video and so on. We don't really know, and that you also are in medicine and marketing. And we know for a fact that one picture can say more than words. And if you really can use the eye in the right way, maybe that can be a big, change of focus on people to really put in the effort for peace and to be the one that's moving people forward, because they can use these tools and make pictures that really speaks into the people that thinks a lot of great things but haven't been able before to put it out there. Maybe if they know how to use AI and get a sense of this, we will hear other people's voices in a different way that we never have done before, that only has been for them who are working in newspapers and so on. But now we are getting to another place, and I think that can be really interesting.
As do I, and I'm with you, and I'm hyper optimistic about that. From a pure art standpoint, I think there are going to be people who poo-poo AI. Certainly in my world, and it's much less now than it was 3 years ago. Now that millions of people are using it, they never had an opportunity to create things because they didn't either have the physical talent to create, either photographs or paintings or anything else for that, or music for that fact. So, and now all of a sudden there's tens of millions of new artists that are just exploring and they're budding, and I think it's fantastic. I think one of the most important things today is something you said, Rachel, about, and that example of the mother's point of view, empathy and compassion. I just hope it doesn't get swept aside, with a rush of just technological, assets and images and capabilities and military and all that stuff. If we can just take a moment and actually slow it down so that empathy can rise and be heard, I think that actually could change the world. Because we're more connected than ever, and we're only going to get more connected, and everything's 24/7. So if we can but everything also moves so fast, and it's just that typical metaphor of you just thumbing through, let's say, the metaphoric Instagram. I just hope people are paying attention. I watch so many people. Well, maybe New York moves far too fast than it should, but you see the way people interact with each other, and their heads are down on phones, but they're not really paying attention. And so I wonder what will allow the world to listen, when attention spans are so remarkably short. Perhaps AI will give people more time to kind of just have a real life, as opposed to, like you said, Rachel, tasks and things that are just time consuming. I hope that opens up time for friends and family and conversation and good arguments and dialogue and all that kind of good stuff. I hope it does, but I also see people moving so fast. No one's taking time to actually do any research and look into things. I'm not including the LinkedIn AI group, for example, which I think is one of the nicest, smartest, and most empathetic communities I've ever been a part of. I never expected that. I thought people would have held their secrets closer to the vest and not share. And everyone is so sharing and trying to empower each other. And the effort that Rachel, you and the group, which I'm, lightly a part of, I wish I was more a part of it. We can talk about that offline. But I think what you're doing is just nothing short of remarkable. And I think women are the ones that are going to have to do this.
I think, go ahead, Sandu.
Yeah, just to mention, because I think you touch also on another aspect. We talk about the AI as the dark side, but let's mention also part of the energy as well. Because AI is energy hungry, and we talk about the climate change and stuff like that. The development which AI can bring. A silent one, which probably we're gonna see it, and I'm talking pure engineering side. We're gonna see it actually rising very fast. It's actually the coverage of the demand of the energy which AI is required to produce whatever has to be produced. That being said, we're going to see actually a lifestyle change in human lives. Typically, the basics are covered, food, water, family, have a shelter, home. Those will become priorities. I'm almost sure, those are actually typically the biggest starter point of conflicts and hates and stuff like that. Those could be solved actually with AI. I do think actually AI will help us solving the energy crisis, which in general humanity have right now, and definitely from forecast point of view, we know we need to invent different other sources of energies. There are some developments which I do not see too much, but I know they were done with AI, but I know they exist. For instance, like artificial suns, the power which can be produced from zero energy. That means I can go on those, let's say, hidden energies, which they were kind of kept under the tap because, okay, some people, they want to maintain their monopoly and whatever, oil, gas, and so on. But those will be solved. I know will be solved because, AI will bring it to the light. And there is another side of AI which you cannot hide it. With AI, you cannot hide stuff anymore. And that is important. Also, the energy side is important. And as we solve those things, I think the other one, they fall into place. All those conflicts around the world probably can be solved as long as we solve the other issues which are underlined, they are hidden, and people don't think about it. We have the fear for AI, but to me, we should have more fear if you not have enough energy for AI to run it as it's supposed to run, right? That is, like the example where we said, hey, gold rush, who made the most money? Actually, there were not the guys which are digging for gold. They were actually the guys holding the shovels for the diggers for the holes. So anyway, I thought it would be a good segue on that side as well, because I like how you lay it out.
Brigida has been very patiently waiting with her hand up. Brigida, please tell us what you're thinking about.
Okay, I try to be short. It's super interesting, and I will say that the most critical things and right now is to use the AI, the voice we can have outside established systems, authorities, and belief systems, and really take it seriously. You as creators, the early adopters of AI, because if you do what you are doing right now, then we can see mothers instead of wars or religion. And when we see mothers, we see climate change, we see this thing, and we can speak because the voices that can express itself via AI is no longer trapped in a system. And I think if we can be aware of to create our quote unquote own new, we are building a new, what you said, Glenn, okay, we can change the world because, and AI combining with the social media, and we are already moving in that direction. So I think for each individual who are an early adopter, bring out the leader in you and take that seriously. It's a different just a few years ago, because now you are this leader and you need to find the passion you have. As you said, Maria, you have your intention, and Rachel with your cheese. If we are doing that, it will change. And we can sit here, it may be just in a couple of years, and said, okay, do you remember this? because we will see the change in the world.
Rachel?
I think that was it.
Oh, thank you. Rachel?
Yes, Glenn made me think of what he was saying about us not taking notice. We're in a world at the moment. I have a teenager. I've got sons in their late 20s, but I've also got an 18-year-old daughter who is connected to her phone. It's another appendage. And I nearly have to clap my hands to say, okay, put the phone down so we can actually have a conversation, because usually the phone, they've got all these alerts that go ping, 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 ping all the time, which would give me absolute anxiety. I just before the pandemic, we as a family we sold everything, packed up, and moved to Bali, and we lived there for a year. And while I was there, the one thing that I noticed is, one, we weren't connected to technology as much. I wasn't working online as much. I had one business, but it wasn't as time consuming as this one. But we as a family connected so much by being there. But what switched on incredibly, and perhaps this is what happens when you travel, is your instincts become so alert. You actually live by intuition. And in Bali, they've got barely any traffic rules and a million motorbikes. And when you drive, you really connect in with the energy of the flow of the traffic, and that's how you stay alive. You move with the flow of the traffic, even though a lot of the time it's coming straight for you. And if a car was coming down a one-way street the wrong way, I think I would probably crash into it, because my brain would not register there's a car coming straight at me. Your instincts are not as refined in the Western world, because there are so many rules and regulations, and I think we're told how to live by many means, media, the internet, everything like that. We do stop taking notice of what actually is happening on the inside. There's quite a movement from what I know with She is AI. There's a lot of it may be the same as when men as well, I'm not sure, in the industry, but I'm particularly familiar with women. But there's a real movement into AI from experienced women over the age of 45 who are finding new career paths, lighting up their lives. They're thinking in their 9 to 5 executive careers that they're probably coming towards the end of their careers, whereas suddenly women are actually finding what they really wanted to do in the first place, and it's lighting them up. And they're using their skill sets and talents and experience from their executive roles to now steer into an AI career path that is more authentic to themselves. So in a way, AI has helped us connect in with our intuition and our instincts again. The problem, like Glenn stated, is that we're not paying attention, especially the younger generation, because they have grown up on technology and they're so conditioned. So and they're peer generated, like basically, if my friend does this, I'll do this. And we saw this in the pandemic as well with vaccinations. You were pro or against. I'm going to use that, and I'm not going to go into politics or anything like that, but there was a real movement. You're either pro vaccinations or against vaccinations, and the two fought instead of listening to both sides of the story, going, okay, my intuition says to take it, or my intuition says not to take it. And that would have been a better perspective, So so anyway, I just wanted to add to that thought, that waking people up, and not the woke movement or anything like that, but AI seems to be waking up the older generation, connecting them more into who they are for themselves, but the younger generation is still stuck in the conditioning at this point.
But Rachel,
That's
if
my
if
perspective.
AI is so relatively new, I mean, it is, right? Do you think that there's a way to connect those dots between the two generations more than ever? Because AI has got to be exciting for the younger generation. I mean, they can't ignore it. I know that they're aware of it, and it doesn't feel like, oh, that's my father's old Oldsmobile. Miguel will know what I mean when I say that. But you know, because it's so highly advanced, and if people who I'll just use your numbers, 45 plus. I wonder if younger people will look to their elders not as using old-fashioned things, but using, the latest and the greatest stuff. Will there be a better connection if you could then share
Yeah.
why compassion, empathy, and life lessons are important?
But,
Well,
but then the difference between the generations right now is like 200-300 years old compared with generations which they were, let's say, 50 years ago. I mean,
True. Yeah.
the biggest gap between the generation rise exponentially, and frankly, I think even between the generations, right now we're gonna see a big gap between, let's say, kids which are between, let's say, 5 to 10 years old compared to those which are teenagers. I mean, the gap is gonna be on a yearly basis due to the advancements of technology.
But Sandu, to that point, it's only going to get faster. You know how we always say AI, from an art standpoint, it's the worst version of itself today. But look how fast it's moving, and I think we're moving in slow motion compared to what I think it's going to be. So to your point, the generation gaps are going to be even wider because they're moving at the speed of light. And if you're not paying attention to that stuff, also, are you left behind?
I'm thinking about my children. I have one son, he's a coder, so he's in the world, but he's not in this creative world. And if I see to my daughters, they are 30 and 35, and they don't know anything like I know about AI. So I was just wondering if your children are into all the programs as we are talking about all the different things, if your children are doing more in the creative programs.
I can tell you with my 6 sons,
6 sons, sorry. 6 sons.
6 sons, 13 grandkids.
Oh my goodness, you just continue to astound.
Yeah, 6 sons within 11 years, Rachel.
Wow.
But my youngest son is studying to be a minister, and he has always been, an art person. I taught him how to use Photoshop, and he actually did some work for me when I was working on my 33 3D dinosaur project because I had work coming in from other clients during that time. He is regularly sending me something or other he's tried in an AI program. I've talked to my son Carl, who's an architect in New York, who just finished up this terrific project in Central Park that there's been a lot of publicity about. And he was working on that for, I think, about 7 or 8 years. There's some people using AI in his office, he says, but he hasn't really done that much. His wife, Rachel, is a art director for Armani, and she said, she's done a little bit of dabbling with it and stuff, but I'm trying to get her to get together with you, and I think she'd, have a lot in common. She was born in Taiwan and came to the United States when she was 3 years old. Terrific art talent, and my son is a terrific architect. My oldest son has a PhD in molecular biophysics, and he's never really talked about how much AI is involved in what they're doing with their research, which I find interesting because I would thought that they would have been using it a lot. But my grandkids and my kids and my daughter-in-laws all, are always impressed with what I'm doing, but it's become, well, Grandpa always was doing, terrific artwork and everything, and so they just kind of expect me to be doing this stuff. But I think that we've had a number of teachers on that have been teaching AI with their students, and I think that there are things being done. I think there's a lot of positive things being done. Eric?
Hi, everybody. It's a great conversation. Just to go back to the negative and not talking about doom and gloom of the future, but what's already happening now. And you're talking about, the younger generation. So many, because of AI and because of post-COVID, but I guess a combination of both, so much of work now is remote. So many positions are remote, and the opportunity for young people to get their first job and to go work in an office and to work with other people and to interact with other people in real life, not over Zoom, they're missing that. A lot of people are missing the experiences we all had in developing relationships and learning how to work together in person. I wonder how that's going to affect society as a whole as advancements in AI continue. And the same thing goes for education. The whole education system is going to have to change. The whole concept of, keeping kids from using AI to, do the cliff version of their homework, so to speak, right? Taking the easy way out. While, at the same time, you don't have to go into an encyclopedia to look up information. We have information about basically everything right at your fingertips. Sometimes that's a good thing, but if you need to develop brains to actually figure out stuff and do research, maybe it's not so great to make it so easy for them. So those are two things that are happening currently now that I think we need to be concerned about, and how AI is going to affect it in positive and negative ways. But I do feel empathy for these young people, graduating college and getting their first job, and it's remote. So that's my point of view.
Good. Rachel?
Yes, I was going to speak into education as well. Glenn mentioned the gap between the two generations. There's actually a multitude of generations in there. I think it's like, because my sons are 10 years older than my daughter, the difference between how they view the world and how my daughter now has been brought up the same way, yet how society has changed within that 10 years is vastly different. There is a gap, and I'm worried for her generation, more so than my son's. Her generation is controlled by their phones, and again, we've lived through the pandemic. There's a lot of mental health issues, and the fact that they, in Melbourne, we had the longest time that we were in-house. So my daughter was going into high school, so she spent the first 18 months online rather than mixing with her friends. Would have been a classroom of friends that she'd never met. And it was like my daughter got social anxiety, and we needed to get her help for that. This is a generation where anything goes. I'm really concerned with the moral aspect of life right now, where what we once considered porn is now accepted as fluid. That concerns me. I'm concerned about the fact that they don't know what sex they are even now, because everything's accepted. And look, I don't have any political viewpoints where I am biased against anything, but I am upset that the baseline hasn't been set like at one point there, and I don't know if it is now. I'm a bit devoid of that, but there was, they were saying that parents, you couldn't call mum or dad anymore, or that wasn't allowed for a little time there, or female and male toilets, or the baseline was being taken away from these young ones right from the beginning. There's a moral ethics part of things that has got a little bit confused for these kids. So when they hit adulthood, like teenagers, teenagers, they're confused, and in the education system, so that's the moral side of things. In the education system, our teachers need to be educated with AI, because there are also a lot of children on the spectrum. For whatever reason, there is a huge majority of children in the education system who are on the spectrum, and they need extra help, because education the system doesn't fit them anymore, whereas AI will. If all children can start, teachers can teach them how to connect with themselves, and also find out through their own intuition how they personally learn, and just learn. I don't think we need to make it difficult. I know there's studies at the moment that say a portion of our mind is not being used, but I believe if we can teach them the analytical side of questioning AI and questioning themselves basically through AI, they will be more in touch with their mental health and who they are and what they are and how they learn, and we will see some incredible talent and intelligence come out of the generation that's younger even than my daughter. So that may bridge the gap then, because we're the matriarchs and patriarchs of AI right now, the above 45s. And if we can help now bleed this into the education system where it's accepted, and oh well, they've cheated, instead of thinking AI is helping them cheat. No, it's not helping them to cheat. Chat GPT has been the most brilliant thing on earth for me. I've learnt so much that I wouldn't have known before. I would have actually just clicked my fingers and go, oh, well, I can't continue my business now because there's areas I don't know. Whereas now it can help us learn and know, or point us in the direction of where we find out more information or more people to help us. So I know I've just gone on a bit of a rant, but I'm right in the thick of this, the young people parent. I'm a young person parent, and also a mother who uses AI. So, I really hope it does bring us all back together, and help our children's mental health, and also how they learn, and how they personalize the learning experience for each. So everyone can learn the same thing. They can advance if they've got the capacity to advance. Because I have actually, the two eldest boys are gifted, so the school system didn't fit them either, because we had to get them into special programs they wanted to learn more, they wanted to advance more. So if those who want to advance more can, and those who need extra help can get that extra help through AI, and they can learn more, then that is a far more balanced education system as far as I can see.
Glenn and then Mark.
Thanks for that, Rachel. I know that was a lot to process, and I think you're using AI to solve a lot of things, not just one thing. And it's hard not to agree. And I've seen wonderful videos where students are interacting with AI. I'll just call them programs that are so human oriented and so empathetic and so stylized to feel like you're dealing with a human, that in watching the videos, I don't see the difference when the kids are talking to the teacher versus talking to the iPad, for example, because it's so human. And I think that who's ever been doing those kind of programs is doing a wonderful job because it takes into account where they are in their learning process about a project, for example. It was able to ask them questions that a human would have as opposed to a mechanical expression of that. So I think it's great. I just wanted to add one thing in Big Al, which to something that Eric said earlier. I still think there is a huge issue with being remote. When I was working the last job full time, the most recent hire, there was about 50 new hires over the course of 3 or 4 months, and none of them were in New York. And most of them left not far after that. And I used to reach out just out of curiosity to them, and they would say, Zoom, obviously, and because they weren't even nearby. And they say, "Hey, Glenn, why are you calling? What do you need?" I go, "I don't need anything. I just want to say hello." You know what I mean? We don't really know each other, and we work in the same company. And they would say, "Well, I'm leaving soon." I go, "Why are you leaving?" I go, "Because there's no connection. There's no culture. I don't know. I barely know anybody. The Zoom calls are all work oriented and nothing personal about anything." And I go, "Well, that's why I'm calling you. This is an example of it." He goes, "Yeah, no, but I'm just moving on." So I hope there's a way to solve that. I'm not sure that AI will be able to do that, but I hope there's a way to force people to interact with each other and not with a phone attached to their hand at the same time. And that's why I think schools are going to stop. You've probably seen this, Big Al, in the news, certainly in the New York area, they're not going to allow cell phones in schools. They're going to have to like hand them in some kind of lockbox scenario, and then they get it at the end of the day. And I think that's fantastic. As much as the kids are angry about it, and I know why they're angry about it, because it's like cutting off a hand. But if they don't do that, no one's paying attention. You know what I mean? It's hard to have to pay
We
attention.
already have that in Australia.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, Rachel, but it's
Yeah.
not, we're a little slower here. But I don't, it's hard enough just to pay attention, let alone pay attention to a thing that's pinging you every minute, and then still listening with one ear and then looking down at your phone. I just don't even see how people can multitask like that. And they're not, obviously, because they always have to ask, "Oh, I didn't hear what you said," to whoever you're speaking to. So I do hope that's figured out. I don't know if AI will be a solver of that, but I do hope that's from a human standpoint. I hope that's there's some conclusion to that, or there won't be any sense of community. I mean, and look. I'll just use LinkedIn again, just our group here, and then our group in the larger LinkedIn. There's some wonderful connections that I've made. I know you have, Rachel, just through She Is AI and probably LinkedIn as well. So it's proof that human connections can be made even if you never see them in person. I guess you have a common goal and a common interest. I just hope the younger, like the group that you're talking about, the very, very young, even before your daughter, maybe if they're born into it, it'll work. But I guess time will tell.
Mark?
Hi. Well, Big Al, I think 6 kids is a nice round number. My great uncle had 26 kids back in
Oh.
it was back in the 1940s to 70s. Southern Colorado farming community, Basque
With all one
immigrant
wife?
community. 2 wives. The first one passed halfway, probably halfway through, probably from too many kids. I don't know, but that's the that's the story, and it's a big number.
He must have made a lot of money.
No, it was a small, very poor farming community. The kids went to work as soon as they could start walking. I think it was very, very different culture. But the mortality rate was pretty high as well. I think maybe 16 to 18 made it to adulthood. It was pretty rough in that area at that time.
Sure.
But that's what they had, and very religious. There was no birth control of any form. It was, from one perspective, it's crazy, but the other stand, as a kid, I used to visit them quite a bit. So it kind of I learned to make sense of it, I guess. So Rachel, I started following She Is AI a while ago. I think one of your ambassadors, I've been admiring her work, and I'm starting to see more and more. And I think the support system is really important. I think you're doing great work, and it brings a lot of visibility to, I think, people that in the huge volume of people on LinkedIn and probably other social media. I think the visibility of great work is important. And when I was in Bali, I didn't dare try to drive. I love it there, but yeah, look both ways.
You have to try it next time. Get on a bike.
I'm not gonna try. If I have a chance to visit again, I'd love to live there, by the way. But
Yeah.
yeah, I have a lot of other comments, but I'll save them for another time.
Yeah.
Glenn, as far as remote work, I'm 62 and I take care of my 91-year-old father, my family and I. So I've been working remote for about 7 years now and started taking care of my father about 5 years ago. And it's been a big benefit for me just in that regard. I had gotten laid off and I'm pivoting, but I think remote work has a lot of additional benefits. There are issues around work culture, as you were mentioning. I think they're important too. So I think there's some degree of loss in there, but I'm not sure to what extent it could be made up again. Even just water cooler talk is it's kind of a nice thing about going into the office. Let's see, Maria, I think you touched on something that's become important to me, and I think kind of talking about the dark side of AI. I know we've talking about how weaponization and AI becoming autonomous in a future that may be coming to be. I guess my concern is the more immediate things that are happening with AI as it is, particularly with the government use of AI by ICE to target people for deportation from the US, like, for example, making Medicaid records available and other things like that. I need to pay closer attention, I think, where AI is already being weaponized just by the government right now. And that's a big concern. I feel powerless other than protesting when seeing that, and there's stuff in the news, in the headlines constantly. So that's a big concern, is that it's already being weaponized, depending on your perspective about it and your politics about it. I think the other thing too, a pattern I'm seeing is the trolling on LinkedIn. I don't have a whole lot of followers, but I see one or two posts every now and then I'm seeing people with larger following. They post something, their artwork or short film, whatever it might be, and see more and more trolling by people that are anti-AI, and that seems to be becoming a pattern. I'm not sure what to do about that. I don't like to feed the trolls, so I'd be kind of curious what people's thoughts were on that in that area.
Okay. Maria, I'd appreciate if you could keep it short because we're going well over the hour that we have, but go ahead and tell us what you were thinking, Maria.
Okay, I just wanted to give a response to Mark and just say that it's really important to take it serious that they are developing so fast and how they are using it. And with that said, that even the smallest acts that we are doing to block or support or boycott or giving out a hand, showing up for somebody who needs it, is more important than ever. It don't have to be so much, but yeah. So that was that I wanted to say. Thank you.
Sure. Well, this has been a very good open discussion here. I think that it's something that is a topic that we all need to be aware of. I would like to sum up by saying that this group is a small smattering of the people who are trying to do the right things with AI and are, creating a wonderful world because of what they're doing with AI. I'm also very concerned about how many billions of dollars certain people are investing in AI, and the fact that the reason why they're doing it is because they're going to figure they're going to make even more money than they're already making. And that concerns me in terms of the wealth discrepancy. And then the other thing that we've touched on about weaponizing AI in ways that are injurious to the world and to individuals. Those things are more concerning to me than the sci-fi question of will AI decide that we're no longer needed. So just again, thank you for being here. Just a reminder next Friday, the 25th. Bloom Bauer is going to be with us on August 1st. Ikena Mokiv from London, who does wonderful, very funny videos.
August 8th, we can use an education. It looks like we need an education revisiting team again, meeting Big Al. I like the topic. I think it's dynamic every day. We touch it on this family and education. I think it's a good topic. Obviously, we can talk with people in the education system. You know, Lance, Dr. Wana, even Dr. Ross. We can have invites. I'll talk with them. But I think an education topic for August 8th will be very well received.
Now, we talked about education a couple of weeks ago. That was something that, there was a certain amount of interest in doing that again. The last thing I wanted to say, Rachel, is Deepika Grover is going to be joining us on the 15th. And so that should be very excellent interview also. This is being recorded. And when I get through editing it, I will be posting a link to it in the comment section of this event today. Excellent, people. Thank you for being here. And I really am very glad to not only know your thoughts, but to know you guys as individuals and people I respect a great deal. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Big Al.
Thanks, Bill.
You are the best.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye.